Hi guys! Today I'm going to share with you 3 piano tips from the masters. Before I share the tips, I'm going to have to share with you my musical family tree so that you understand why these tips could actually stem back to Beethoven. When I was about 9, I moved piano teachers to an Australian concert pianist called Sally Mellor. Sally and her teacher Ruthie, who I had many master classes from, were taught by Claudio Arrau. Now, if you don't know, Claudio Arrau, the Chilean pianist, was one of the 20th century greatest pianists, massive exponent of Beethoven's music and basically a piano god. Claudio, in turn, was taught by Martin Krause, who was taught by, wait for it, Franz Liszt. Yep, Franz Liszt. Unbelievable, right? But it gets better. Franz Liszt was taught by Karl Czerny, which you may have done some of Czerny's studies and exercises. And finally, okay, fanfare time, Czerny was a student of Ludwig van Beethoven. So the tips I'm going to share with you, perhaps stem back all the way to Beethoven. Right, let's get to it. So tip number 1 is of ultimate importance, and it's relaxation. The absence of tension in your body and in your arms and your hands, any part of you when you play. I'm going to show you Arrau actually saying this himself because I think he says it the best.
The body is in contact with the depths of your soul. Is that clear? Because it's quite important. And so if you are stiff in any joint, you impede the current, the emotional, physical current, what the music itself dictates to you. If you have a stiff joint, you don't let it go through into the keyboards.
So we're talking heavy arms, basically arm weight. What happened to me a lot on those first lessons until this became instilled, lift up the arm and fall. And if you're tense, you can't do this. It's basically absence of tension. I'm going to show you loose arms. It's for everything you do, whether it's a melody line, whether it's chords, no matter what, always loose. So chords. Completely loose, even with small hands, stretched, loose. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, and it was quite a shock when I went to this new teacher. I'd already been playing concertos and quite a lot of repertoire, and first lesson we went back to playing literally a scale. And the next tip is playing to the bed of the keys. So what that means is feeling every note, right, no surface playing. So feeling to the bed all the way. It sounds simple, but have a go. Play just literally a 5-note scale and feel every key, feel that contact with the bed of the note. And that follows through in any kind of playing, fast, slow, whatever. And I think actually it's always very important to me to understand, first of all, every note you play, and that every note is important, no matter what. There are no throwaway notes. So that was tip number 2. We played to the bed of the keys. This was quite a revolutionary concept to me. I'd never heard of this. So I'll play you a tiny bit of Beethoven and show that in the singing line we're feeling all the way to the bed of the keys. 3 was the use of the wrist. And literally on those first lessons, we went back to basics as well, literally broken chord studies to learn the use of the wrist. And this is a really, really fundamental part still of my technique. And it links back to the relaxation, the absence of tension, basically. So to demonstrate, what we did first was we played a simple C major scale. And whereas you might think, okay, thumb goes under, you go 1, 2, 3, thumb under. We don't think thumb under, we think wrist circle, and then you move your thumb. So for, let's just do a C major scale. Wrist, wrist, thumb. And let's do it again, circle. So, circle, 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 reverse circle, and an arpeggio, circle. It's not thumb going under, it's wrist circle, moving the thumb. So your wrist, and so we literally played loads of pieces just focusing on the wrist. So for example, this little study that was by Schumann. So if you watch, it's broken chords and watch the wrist. I'll try and do an overhead so you can see it. Wrist, wrist, wrist. Just improvising. See the looseness. So moving on to some other pieces to show the wrist. So from Schubert, musicaux. So the wrist, it's shaping. The wrist, it also helps you shape the music, understand the curve and the formation of the phrase. And then Schumann Fantasy, the opening of the third movement. Really lots of pieces with arpeggios to get used to this feeling of shaping with the wrist. So Chopin, one of his etudes. Complete absence of tension. All with the wrist. Okay, so let's recap the 3 tips. Tip number 1, absence of tension, relaxation, arm weight, basically imperative, you know. Tip number 2, playing to the bed of the notes. Try it. Take the most simple passage and feel each bed of each note as you play. It's basically fundamental. And the third tip, the use of the wrist, which links in, as we say, to the arm weight. So there we've got 3 tips that stem back through Claudio Arrau, through Liszt to Beethoven. I hope that was interesting. They're very basic techniques, but they are really the cornerstone to my technique. And it's really special to think that my family tree of teachers links back to my most revered and most loved composer, Beethoven. I've always felt like I've a really special and rather strange link with Beethoven. A funny story is my mum and dad used to say when I was growing up, it was like I was the reincarnation of Beethoven. My room looked like a complete hovel. I didn't go as far as chamber pots full of poo and wee on the floor. But it was very strange. I'd some very uncanny links with Beethoven, but that's all for another story, if you believe in reincarnation. Okay, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for all things piano. Bye guys!